Professor Lawrence Pierce of the University of Chicago writes, I think
Goku
gets stupider every year. That's not a question, Professor.
When it comes to anime, Goku from Dragon Ball has to be among the, top 3 most popular protagonists of all time? Pretty sure the Latinos pray to Goku more than they pray to Jesus at this point, and that's no small feat. His kindly nature, his never-give-up attitude, and, of course, his comedic stupidity, it's hard not to love the guy. You just want to give him a big ol' smooch on the lips. Yet for as undeniably popular as Goku is on a global scale, the character has managed to generate a fair few debates over the years, particularly with regards to the quality of writing that has surrounded the character basically since Dragon Ball Super got started. But to be even more specific, the argument is whether or not Goku has become too stupid in recent years.
Kakarot, stop punching him and use your darn head! What? Oh, okay.
I don't think it's funny.
So dumb and irresponsible so as to be written out of character, some would argue, and the debate really hasn't died down ever since Super got started. Me personally, well, I can see merit to both sides of the argument, with the caveat that I don't really humor arguments to the effect of, well, Akira Toriyama said that Goku was supposed to be a stupid, selfish asshole. Now, ordinarily, I'm the kind of person that believes that the word of the author should be taken as fact and you can't really out-interpret the author, but Akira Toriyama is one of those rare exceptions to that rule. Consider, if you will, that this is the same man who had launch debut in the series around the same time as Krillin, and who had her appear in just about every single arc since then up until the World Tournament arc. And yet, as soon as Z started, Launch vanished from the series entirely. Why? Well, I shit you not, Akira Toriyama just plumb forgot she existed. A character who had been in the series for years at that point, just gone cause he forgot about her. My man has got terminal goldfish brain. I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt when he tries to retroactively claim something about the story. But to get a better feel for how Goku is written in the present, it's important to understand how he was written in the past as well. And certainly, when Dragon Ball first started, he was as dumb as a pile of rocks, to put it politely.
Oh no, that guy's trapped and he's trying to break the glass by playing that horrible music.
Of course, it was entirely understandable and justified. For one thing, he was like 12 years old, and 12-year-olds are about as smart as I am at present. And for another thing, Goku spent the entirety of his young life isolated on a mountain, so his social and emotional intelligence are even worse than mine. Also, he's canonically brain damaged. I think that's still canon. The stuff they added with Dragon Ball Minus and Broly, it kinda muddies the water a little bit. But as the series progressed and Goku got to know his ever-expanding retinue of friends, and particularly from his time spent training with the likes of Master Roshi and Kami, he did noticeably get more smart and more mature over time. Never to the extent where you'd consider him a genius at anything other than fighting, but Goku from the 23rd tournament is basically totally different from Goku at the very start of the series. But even before that point, there's material in the first part of Dragon Ball that refutes the idea that Goku is a fight-obsessed maniac who was obsessed with fighting strong people above all else. For instance, when Krillin died, the first time, that is, Goku's thoughts weren't, wow, the guy who killed Krillin must be really strong, I can't wait to fight him. No, he was consumed with white-hot anger and was determined to hunt Tambourine to the ends of the earth.
You can't escape me! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth!
And it's a clear sign that, even relatively early on in the series' lifetime, there was more going on in Goku's head than just fighting and food. When Dragon Ball Z started in earnest with the invasion of the Saiyans, it's also a clear sign that Goku had matured a fair bit from the earlier parts of the series. Becoming a parent tends to do that, I'm told. When Raditz attacked and abducted his son, Goku's thoughts weren't in any sort of excitement about getting to fight a new strong opponent. All his thoughts were focused on saving his son from the big-haired weirdo that just kidnapped him.
That won't happen. I'll make sure of it. Still, the part about teaming up is actually a good idea. It It might be crazy, but you're right. It's the only way.
And when Goku got back from Snake Way to find that Nappa had killed several of his closest friends, Goku wasn't exactly excited by how powerful Nappa appeared to be. As it turns out, Goku was actually a little bit cheesed off that many of his closest friends had been murdered by a giant buff Mr. Clean looking motherfucker. Of course, the Saiyan Saga also has a scene where we have to take a bit of a knock against Goku's perceived intelligence when he managed to stop Krillin from krilling Vegeta. Yeah, okay, nobody ever accused Goku of being perfect. While I disagree with the notion that he prioritizes fighting strong opponents above all else, it is admittedly a very big part of his life and worldview. So, a dumb move, but not entirely out of character for him. Plus, you could argue that Goku is just generally against anyone getting iced when they're totally defenseless like Vegeta was at the time. In the Namek saga that came after, we do get other glimpses in Goku's intelligence, such as him instantly defeating Raccoon because he left himself wide open, or the time he threw a frog in the way of Ginyu's body-changing beam. These aren't amazing galaxy brain strategies or anything like that, but they are little moments that highlight that Goku can be intelligent and cunning when the need arises. Later on in the Namek saga, when Krillin dies, for the second time, Goku, in his new Super Saiyan form, makes it abundantly clear that he's being driven heavily by revenge at that point. And while Goku does let Frieza reach 100% power, it's not entirely so he can have a better fight, it's so he can beat Frieza both physically and psychologically by showing Frieza that even at his best he just can't beat Goku now. I'd argue, personally, that the Frieza saga and the Android saga that come after are probably where we see Goku peak mentally. Certainly far more emotionally intelligent than he was at the start of the series, and capable of forward planning too. That much is obvious in the patience and compassion he shows towards Gohan when he's trying to make him a Super Saiyan. And while people shit on Goku a fair bit for how he handles the Cell fight, I don't think he's entirely unjustified.
Hey, Cell! Senzu Bean!
No! What? Why?
What? I'm just playing fair.
Sure, Goku didn't understand that Gohan didn't want to be a fighter, but, well, it's not like he spent that much time getting to know Gohan as a person before that point, and again, it's not entirely his fault that that happened. For as much as people like to parrot the idea that Goku is a bad dad, because context is for weenies, it's not really up to him that he spent so much time either dead or healing while things were going on in the plot. And whenever he'd show up to save Gohan from danger, well, the situations that Gohan were in weren't that much more dangerous than the kind of bullshit that he got up to when he was Gohan's age. As for giving Cell a Senzu Bean, you know, that incident that just about everyone brings up all the time, it's a little bit dumb, but it does make sense in context. Goku was certain that his son was more than powerful enough to beat Cell at his peak, but he needed to be motivated to go all out, and Cell probably couldn't do that if he wasn't at his peak himself. Later on, when Goku chooses not to be wished back from the dead, he is clearly thinking towards the future. Moreover, he clearly shows a little bit of guilt and compassion towards his friends, blaming himself for the danger they were all in.
You know, Bulma said something to me years ago that stuck with me. She told me I was like a magnet for all the bad guys that were always popping up. And if you think about it, that's not really too far from the truth.
While I would never go so far as to say that Goku is a particularly smart character at this point in Dragon Ball's history, certainly the guy manages to have his fair few moments of pure crater brain, but he still had his occasional clever moments, or could strategize, and above all else you could still say that Goku was about as intelligent as an adult around that time. It's as you get into the Buu saga that Goku's IQ starts to steadily go downward. Granted, everyone in the Buu saga was kind of an idiot, the whole thing would have been like 5 episodes long otherwise. 'cause the three stooges over here decided to muck around instead of just dealing with Bobbity before Boo could be awoken. It's also around this time that Dragon Ball started to shift towards a more light and comedic tone, but a lot of the jokes around Goku just became about how dumb he is because, well, Akira Toriyama just really likes jokes about how dumb certain characters are. Goku still had the occasional smart or serious moment in the Boo saga, but all these dense gags happening with a lot of regularity, well, it did color perception of his character a fair bit and just kinda stuck to him after that point. To use the terminology of a TV tropes nerd, this is what is known as flanderization. It's a form of character writing where certain elements of a character, usually comedic in nature, get exaggerated over time to the point where they end up just kinda overtaking the other traits the character had before. And in Goku's case, this flanderization took the form of him getting dumber and dumber as time went on, and certainly that became very obvious by the time Dragon Ball Super was in full swing.
I gotcha!
Honestly, for a lot of super slice-of-life episodes, Goku ends up feeling like a kinda buff Homer Simpson. Incredibly laid back, generally dumb and lazy, very different to Goku at the start of Z. But I suppose you could make an exception for Goku being this way in slice-of-life episodes, which are supposed to be generally light in tone and comedic in nature, but no, Goku's kinda like this in the more serious parts of Super too. I mean, does anyone else find it weird that Goku is fine palling around with Beerus even though Beerus has killed like billions upon billions of people for petty bullshit reasons? And no, Beerus killing all those people is not just him doing his job. The series goes so far as to say that Beerus is bad at his job. That's one of the reasons why Universe 7 is such a shithole. Beerus doesn't blow up planets because it's his job to do so. He blows up planets because he feels like it or they slighted him in some stupid way. Yet Goku, as of Super, is more than happy to clown around with people who have body counts that make Frieza and Majin Buu look like rank amateurs in comparison. Because he's been rendered into such a dumb, fight-obsessed chimpanzee that he just has no real morals or standards left at this point. It took Zamasu and Goku Black boasting about killing Goten and Chi-Chi to make Goku genuinely mad at them, and even the Tournament of Power, where his entire universe could have been destroyed, he wasn't really taking that all that seriously. Just more excited about fighting strong people than he was concerned about protecting everyone he cared about. He was also the one person too stupid to see through the whole Monaka thing even when literal children could see through him. And he's been rendered so immature that he's absolutely bewildered that Vegeta would want to be there for the birth of his daughter. My man, you're making the prince of all manlets look reasonable and mature. Oh yeah, and the concept of kissing is apparently totally alien to him now. I guess I wanted to try and be fair about it, but the more I think about Super Goku, the more irredeemably dumb he feels. Goku in Z could occasionally be dopey and goofy, but ultimately he felt like a grown man who had been shaped by his life experiences up to that point. Goku in Super feels like a parody, where all of his more comedic elements have been dialed up to 11 while all his more subtle aspects have been steadily airbrushed away. But maybe whenever Dragon Ball gets a proper anime continuation, it'll be a chance for Goku to be shown in a more mature light, to have him grow and develop closer to how he was in Z, and oh my god, they turned him into a child again.
So long, suckers!